What is up? Welcome back to the Huddle, your weekly playbook helping you gain forward progress in your career. Simply put, we're here to help you guys win. For all our new viewers, welcome to the team. Today's topic, back to basics, revisiting core installation skills. What's up, fellas?
What's
How's it
going on,
going?
brother?
It's going good. Kind of crazy here at the old Stuart and Associates Flooring Company. Kind of crazy busy at the moment, so that's a good thing though.
Both in the field and in the office, or is one busier than the other?
It's both, man. We put out so many doggone bids this last oh 3 or 4 weeks. Um, it's been pretty crazy in the office, and then out in the field, I guess honestly, it's not too bad, but um, it's also kind of a symptom of our of our crews kind of doing well and our jobs, our managers are doing a good job. So I think we ran a medium kind of payout last week, close to 50K to subs and then our standard installers. So it's about medium busy from those numbers. Our in-house guys are, employees. So, but we get up closer to 100K a week in subs. That's when we know we're busy. And then that's the
And that's where you're about at right now. You're building that.
we're headed that direction.
Yeah,
We're headed that direction. Um, this summer we'll probably get in the upper echelon of that. I think I don't know. The largest we've ever paid out is about 270 in a week to subs.
that's
It
pretty
was a
good week.
massive week of paying out. So yeah. Well, letting everybody get on here. I think this is a good topic. You know, just get back to basics. We talk a lot of advanced stuff sometimes, getting into business building, all that kind of jazz. We talk about training a lot and how important it is. And I think that's kind of the foundation. But getting back to basics on installation and having a conversation around that, I think that's a good topic. What do you
I don't
guys,
mind it.
what do you
I
got? What
don't
do you
mind it.
guys, you don't mind it? Good. Because that's what we're talking about.
Well, look, I missed last week, right? I had some technical difficulties. Go figure. But they we had some
Last
issues
week
with.
was the Spanish episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, I still like to log on and talk to my boys. I couldn't even
Yeah,
do
I got
that. I
on
couldn't
and
even couldn't even make a
Jorge's
phone call.
Jorge's birthday was like the
Yeah.
day before that or something, wasn't it?
Last week Monday, he's got the most Mexican birthday in the world, Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, he does. That's funny.
It's probably his middle name.
All right. So back to the basics installation, uh, back to basics, I should say, the revisiting core installation skills. So let's start there. What are some in your guys's, like, you get a brand new guy comes in, what's the first thing that you guys run through? What's the first week or two of a green guy coming in?
Sweeping.
Yeah, cleaning, um, tape measure, like easy stuff. Hand tools. Are you familiar with
Well,
hand
hold on.
tools?
Sweeping is like, I've told that story 100 times where I
Yeah.
got in trouble and kicked off a job because I didn't use anything. I didn't do anything to keep the floor clean. So cleaning up the substrate. Um,
Yeah.
that seems like just the most basic, simple thing, but I think it's something that we can overlook sometimes. I've got a job right now, found a couple dimples under my LVT, and I'm like,
Mm,
what's going on? What's up with that? And then luckily it's a 3 foot by 3 foot, so it's only one piece that's got to come out and get replaced. But those are just the little things that these basics can make or break your job. That's the bottom line. A lot of times we get so wrapped up in the more advanced stuff that if we're not watching the guys that are doing this, the beginner things or inspecting their work, or making sure that the PM or the lead guy on the job is inspecting the work, um, you know, you can end up with a couple dimples under your LVT. It doesn't
Yeah, that happens.
teenager's back or nothing, but I mean, it's just
That sounds disgusting. I
that
appreciate
is
the visual.
disgusting. Pimples, we call them pimples
Yeah,
under the thing. So, but
I,
yeah, just that basic very first step.
I think that you're right. You have the tendency to overlook the stuff that is a no-brainer to you if you've been in it for a while. You forget that clean to you is different than clean to someone else. And typically, people don't get really meticulous on how well they're cleaning the substrate until they're the one installing and finding the things that they don't like. Like, oh, nobody scraped
Yeah.
this wall right
Then
here.
you understand why everyone was getting angry at you for not being able to. Why'd you miss this wall, man? It's only one wall, and then you're the one that's patching, and you're like, gotta.
Dude, the worst is behind the door.
Yeah, that's a actually any of it, especially leaving sheetrock mud down, like sanding the floor and then not making sure you get all the sheetrock mud and you're spreading for sheet vinyl or VC any vinyl, and you're like, what in the world? Scraping it up, and once you're gluing, that's not a good time to find that stuff. Like that's the worst time to find it.
That's when your glue
But
trowel becomes a scraper.
yeah, and then you get the little boogers on the back, and that's just from a dusty floor. Like the glue's not going to do that
Yep.
normally. Uh, it's from a dusty floor and a small trowel size. That's going to happen if you have a dusty, even just a little bit of dust. That's why we don't like to let you either need to have full HVAC on, like, right. That's why I hate doing temporary heat and air. They'll get it to the condition, but there's no air movement in the area, and you sweep something, even if you vacuum, you're causing dust to go in the air, and then it just kind of settles back down. That's why I hate the temporary situations. And they're checking the box on the specs that the manufacturers are like between this degree and that degree, and they're like, we're keeping it between that with temporary AC units or temporary heating units, but it's not moving the air the way that a regular system does.
It's just forcing that hot air out, and it's like there's no return, right? So that
Yep,
air is just
no
getting that
return.
same air is just getting blown
Yep.
around
Heated.
over and over again.
It's heating all the air, but it's not doing nothing to move it through a filtration system. I'm probably ticking off the HVAC guys. They're probably like, that's why we don't turn them on, is because you flooring
Yeah.
guys
That
get
is why
dust
they
in our
don't.
filters.
Yep.
Well, that's why you should figure construction filters, one replacement, final filters. But I know you're bidding a job. If you're an HVAC guy out there, don't get too mad at me.
Yeah. Well, but those are some of those things that people need to understand. It's you got to have that circulation to pull the dust out, filter it somewhere. Otherwise, it's going up, coming back down. You're recycling it, cleaning it
Hmm.
twice if you're not vacuuming. I mean,
Yeah. So then right after that, you teach a guy to what? Sweep and then trowel, adhesive, those kinds of things. Even that cause little bumps and, dimples if you don't know how to trowel correctly. What's he say?
especially in
That's when
resilient.
you throw a broom to your apprentice.
They'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
And remember, it's called a push broom, not a pull broom.
John, that sounds like exactly what happened to me. I'm going to go ahead and tell the story. I was doing my very first day installing, well, helper. I didn't install squat. These dudes, and there's there's a little bit of hazing that goes on. At least there was in my company where they're sending you out for the tile stretcher, that kind of crap. Trying to, because you have no idea. So they're doing this stuff to mess with you. Well, they give me a broom and say, go sweep the sanctuary in this church. And I just go in, and I mean, there's dust everywhere. Just got sanded. I'm in there just pushing the broom. No one showed me how to use the broom, how to keep the dust down with it, nothing. Just broom it away. It's got all these big wooden like uh, arches and all this stuff up there. And I had that room so dusty. I went and asked for a dust mask. Well, the superintendent comes in there and just reams me, throws me off the job because
What?
I had gotten dust all up on their all that stuff, and they didn't, they're not going to clean it. It's like 30 feet in the air or something, and I'm just going to town with this broom. Dude, dust was everywhere. I had more dust boogers than well, let me say I learned how to um, I learned the value of a dust mask when you're sweeping after that. So anyway, you might want to show your helper or your apprentice how to broom properly to keep the dust down. Do you guys use floor sweep?
Yes and no.
Never use. These are basic things, right? Never use the oil base, typically
No oil
red.
base.
You can use the wax base, typically green, but you cannot let any of them sit in a pile on your floor, even the wax based, especially if it's
Correct.
kind of warmer in the facility and that wax starts melting into the kind of oozing into the substrate. I've seen adhesive failures with both. So,
Well, you don't want
yeah,
it. You don't want
John,
to saturate it.
tell us your story, John. See if you got thrown off a job site and you the first day of your job. I thought I was gonna get fired. I thought that was it, dude. And they're
We
just
we've
over
had
there
some
laughing their asses off at me.
we've had some pretty bad. I will tell you a story. So when I did first start, I didn't know anything about sweeping compound, right? But I've already been going through this hazing process, right? Like everything you're new, so everything you do, and then all of a sudden you're like, ha, you're getting laughed at. And they were like, hey, dude, go get the sweeping compound so we don't kick up dust. I'm like, what's sweeping compound? They're like, you throw it on the ground and it is to keep the dust down. I said, so you want me to throw more stuff on the floor to sweep up? Stop messing. And at that point, I was like, stop messing with me.
You were
So I
trying
just
not
started,
to get hazed.
yeah, I just started sweeping. Next thing you know, man, there's dust rolling out. Like, it rolls backwards off the broom. You throw it up, the bristles throw it up. I was like, dude, I told you to get the sweeping compound. And then I was getting yelled at. I was like, oh, that's a real thing? And yep, sure enough, right on the box, sweeping compound. I'm like, I didn't believe you guys. I did not believe you guys.
Well,
So
I wish I would have found a bag of sweeping compound back then. Better way to do it, just vacuum with a HEPA vac and
that
do it.
is,
That's the right way to do it. But back in the broadloom days when you were sweeping for broadloom floors, you didn't. There was
You didn't even have to sweep. You just start spreading glue, remember? You sweep and you glue.
I worked
you
for a
just
company that yelled at you for sweeping. I wasn't there very long.
well,
That's
you couldn't
also
find this. You couldn't find the sweeping compound.
back in the day when I first started, when we ripped out broadloom and put new broadloom down, we didn't do anything with the adhesive at all. That old adhesive just stayed down and we just went right over it.
Dude, I mean, we don't do enough broadloom for me to even say we still do that, but I would say for the most part, and unless it's crystallized, we ain't gonna scrape up broadloom glue and go back unless it's like if it's too thick, of course you got to take it up. But with regular carpet to carpet, if it's not crystallized, we'll go over it. All right, John says in 1989, my father at 300 pounds, 5'10", showed how to use a push broom and told me that it's not a race. I'm not a race. Oh,
Car
I'm not a race
driver.
car driver, so don't do it like this. As I continued to use it like he said, I cheated a little and did use it as a pull broom along the same steel shoes up my ass and dropped my knees. Holy shit, what happened? He said, "You want to be a race car driver or a flooring installer?" My ass hurt for days. That's a good one.
I know. And now he's the best sweeper known to man.
It only takes one set of steel toes. I should have enlarged that or something. I could barely damn
What
read
about
it.
Daniel?
Or
Who
put my
was that
reading glasses on.
who was that we worked with? Wouldn't even use a push broom. They would use um like the
Foxtail.
horsehair broom. Yeah, the foxtail, horsehair,
Old
whatever.
school.
Was it old school? Like a whole like like
Well, that's
why are
how
you
we
sweeping?
we always use a foxtail around the edges to get it from out from under the sheetrock, and then broom it up.
Yeah, we always used to use brooms for that too, and then we realized that, oh, we can vacuum this and be way better.
Yeah,
Vacuum's way better.
learned
Yeah.
that from a ceramic guy,
So
and
back to basics. Use a vacuum.
yeah,
And if you're doing sheet vinyl or you got some other stuff, a little more advanced in your form, the installer should know, but you may even have to run a damp mop. Damp.
microfiber. They have those nice, sweet dust mops, like the old school lunchroom ones,
Yeah.
on a smaller scale, of course, right? But you can get those and dampen those and take them back, wash them. Um,
Yeah. I
we've
was just
tried a
saying
couple
damp is
variations.
the key. You get wet and you're going to have a problem.
Right. I've used auto scrubbers too to release a little bit of water and then
Mm-hmm.
vacuum it right back up.
Yeah, auto scrubber. You guys got an auto scrubber?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've rented them for that. We don't have one, at least not one that runs, and we have one in the backup in the racks, but it's got something wrong with it. But yeah, we on big rooms we'll use an auto scrubber to go do that final clean, especially if it's a big sheet vinyl or LVT room or something like that.
And a lot of things,
Yeah, this
like
dude
one
started when
thing,
I started, man. Foxtail and a scraper at the edge and then broom it. That is
think
some.
that's one thing that people don't think about either is like when we do sheet vinyl, we're constantly cleaning the back of the vinyl too. Like
Yeah,
you don't see like a lot of these videos that you'll see on like TikTok and stuff that they're just like gluing and throwing it in there, and it's like I wish it was that easy.
Oh yeah. Well, in our world, in the commercial world, especially if you're doing like a biospec or something like that that rips pretty easy, dude. You're not flopping. You pull it back, it's gonna crack. Any little kink in it, it's no, it's a
I've
nightmare.
done linoleum before where I pulled it back to glue it and just laying it down, it cracked on the bend. Like,
Oh, really?
yep.
yeah, the old stuff, like
Yeah,
old,
you
like
gotta be careful. Gotta be careful with that. If it's got a lower vinyl content, or and you can always just take a little corner of it and bend it over and see how easy it is to snap, and you'll see. Oh yeah, the good old silica laws.
oh, geez, yeah. Somebody I just saw. Was it a TikTok or I don't know where I saw a video. Somebody just came out with a newer backpack vacuum, a little bit stronger. Um, I don't remember where I seen it. I should have saved the video.
Yeah, so back to basics to me is like these are the beginning things, and I'm not sure that it gets, there's not a lot of teaching on that. That's like learning out in the field. There's not like you don't you'll skim over a lot of the trainings I've been to, skims over like, okay, clean the floor and then do this. But the cleaning the floor part is ultra important, as well as cleaning out your saw joints and construction joints and properly addressing those. Um, so, obviously, um, there's not like this. There's flooring 101, but in the commercial side, it's a little bit different than residential. And I feel like a lot of those intro courses into flooring are dressing guys that are at least their next step seems like it might be a residential a line. But if you're in an area that's got a lot of slab on grade, you still need to sand the floor and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
What do you guys find the best way to what's next? What's your best next?
Tool recognition, man. Like learning what tools you're working with every day, like your basic hand tools to your everyday tools. Like I think that's a huge thing, especially if you're coming from like no construction background, right? Like When I said
That's
tape
one thing
measure
the
earlier.
trainings do teach you, and I think even online trainings can teach you is tool recognition. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, it goes a long way just to tell a guy if you're a tile guy. Back in the day, they didn't have all the saw holes. They used nippers, tile nippers.
Yep.
They
Oh,
take a
yeah.
set of glass cut. They cut the the
And
shape out with
there's different ways now.
the ceramic cutter, and then they just use tile nippers. And tell them, hey, go grab my tile nippers.
Chad says, let's start with the moisture meter. And I think that's one thing that we get wrong with the industry is you don't start learning all this stuff until you're pretty advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. You don't teach um, moisture meter or moisture conditions in general, or
Yeah.
site conditions in general. I didn't know if a site was good or bad until I was probably in it for a couple of years before I
Yeah.
started to even take notice of that stuff. So yeah,
You know
that's
what?
something that even in the beginning you got to kind of,
I want to
but
add to
they
that
shouldn't
too,
be on a
because
job by themselves anyway.
right. I want to add to that because Daniel's right. Like the order in which everyone learns is a little like we learn to help, right? We don't really learn the science behind everything first, and I think like one thing that we do different over here now we do different is once we went for the substrate and prep certification with NAFCT, like that is or should be a prerequisite for everything else. Like you should understand that science before the rest of it. And when that got brought up and that conversation was had, it was like, man, that just makes so much sense, right? Like I wonder how many people would drop off before even getting into flooring if that was how we started, or how many people would stay, I should say, not drop off, right? How many people would stay had they started at the substrate and prep uh, portion of the industry first, and then work their way to the rest of it? How many successes? How many less failures?
Well, it's a lot better. I mean, about the most basic thing that gets missed by DIY or DIY and, do it yourselves, uh, like, is the floor prep. They've made product that looks like it's so easy, but floor prep and substrate conditions, I think, is 101. To me, that's the most important part of the installation. But when we talk about basics, it doesn't need to be beginner. This is basics. And when we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about basics, floor prep to me is the number one. And that starts with getting a clean substrate. I think, Chad had a good point. Moisture testing, moisture meter or moisture testing,
Like you
either
said, ambient
RH.
conditions.
Yep. Your site conditions, making sure they're good. And then if everything's good, with your pH or RH or if you're doing a moisture meter.
That's exactly what John just said, pH and RH.
Beginning,
Yeah,
yeah,
stop reading the comments. Stop reading the comments and acting like it's yours. Come on now.
yeah, that's why I'd be stealing. So no matter what you're doing, once you get that, then floor prep is 101. Like, is the one of the worst things you can have is like a wavy floor. It seems smooth, but you don't take notice of the natural light coming in. And you know that
Uh,
if you're advanced, or at least you think about these things, you know that those waves are going to show through. I had a job that I just came back from this morning. Months ago, I walked it and it was a new concrete floor, but it had waves and they had all this natural light. I'm like, hey man, this is smooth enough for LVT. Like, it's not chattered and everything, but you have multiple waves through here that are going to show. And it's kind of it wasn't a high gloss LVT, but it wasn't like matte. So I was
yeah.
like, that's really going to
Yeah.
show.
It doesn't
I,
even matter. You're gonna see it with that natural sunlight.
Yeah,
yeah.
on matte surface, it'll show as well. But on
On a
the
glossy,
a
it's
little
even worse.
glossier,
Yeah.
it's not high gloss like you'd see in a residential house or anything, but like it was a little on the glossier side or on the more sheen side. And dude, no doubt about it, it was going to show.
And
And
that's
of
how it
course,
is. Like at hospitals over here
Oh, dude, that's the
because they'll
worst.
use a lot of no wax floors and then everything looks great and then they go in there and throw a coat of wax on it and it's like, yeah, this is it's not as great as everyone thought.
Yeah, and even
Mm-hmm.
some of the older hospitals too, like one of the local ones, they have areas where they're over uh, the concrete is over docks plank or it's over sheet metal, and they span their columns where back when they built it, it was approved, right? They're further away, so you can see the rolling going down, right? And that's what we're gonna call it rolling, but you can see that, and it's like, dude, we're never gonna get rid of it unless you want to like re-pour the whole thing. But then you're too heavy for the structure. You can't like, okay, I understand. So you gotta back to the basics. Got to prep your client.
Yeah, that may be even past basics, but prepping the client, that's it seems like an ongoing thing. The why couldn't you self level it? Add too much weight?
It, well, yeah. Then
Or
you have the weight, right? Like, say the valley is 3 inches difference on the lowest the lowest part of the belly versus the highest spot, um, and that's just going to add a lot. And I'm talking large, wide open corridors that are extend over 3 separate builds and additions, and on the third floor, fourth floor. Yeah, we've run into a lot of different scenarios like that.
yeah, John's talking about the post has a comment here about magnetic flooring in the future. We will talk about that, John, and would love to have you DM us or reach out to one of us and let us
Right.
know what you'd like to talk about there.
You can email us
And
at forward progress at thehuddle.team.
forward progress at the huddle.team. Shoot us an email and let's go over what you're wanting to talk about. And we have an education series coming up that we will be going over multiple topics and might be able to find a spot where that fits in. So, yeah, that's a whole new rabbit hole because I remember when that stuff first came out. So,
I remember talking about it and getting uh, some more information and over to one of the local hospitals, and they actually liked the idea. But then it's
I
one of
think
those
there's a
things
lot of
where,
concern with magnetics
Yeah.
in
yeah,
hospitals. Just
yeah,
I know that what I was told is it's not strong enough to affect whatever equipment or whatever, but it's just, I don't know if you're going to convince a hospital, and maybe some people have, but I
office
would think
space
that's going to be a
probably
tough one.
maybe away from patients, right? Until there's been around long enough, but office space or I don't. I think there's a couple applications there where it's not going to interfere.
Jorge's over there in the same area, so he's curious about the magnetic flooring.
John,
Making
you guys should
connections here on the
exchange
huddle.
exchange numbers.
I thought I had a book here with it, but
Well,
I
keeping
might
up
have
with
given it away.
back to the basics, another big thing to me and that we talk about all the time is just training. So if you find yourself as an installer, getting some experience with your uncle or your dad or your brother or something, don't throw away formal training. That to me is a basic fundamental requirement for an installer to become as good as they can become. This whole idea about you know the way that um, like apprenticeships are built or any really good education system is built around a learn apply learn apply learn apply. So like train applicate train applicate train applicate, and before you know it you'll be as good as Daniel,
Maybe even better.
maybe even better.
So, John, the email's scrolling at the bottom right here. It's a forward progress at thehuddle.team.
Yeah, we'll get that and respond to you, John. And that reminds me, anybody who's on right now, don't forget, give us a thumbs up, comment, like our videos, like our shorts, give us some love there. That's what helps us keep doing this. What episode are we on? Like episode two,
149.
149, I believe.
149, almost 150. That's going to
Uh,
be a big one.
Chad said first basic thing to cover would be reading the installation instructions.
We already looked by that one. Yeah, good point.
That's a good one. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a great, thing to bring up, Chad. I mean, a lot of guys think they already know it. And I'll tell you what, with a lot of the LVTs these days that are coming out and they want you to be semi wet setting it or wet setting it, and guys who just um, go in and start installing LVT like they always have without reading the instructions. And frankly, I mean, project managers or salesmen, whoever's in charge of the project should be sharing some of that information. Um, but if you're an installer at the end of the day and you install it incorrectly, it's on you. So read the installation instructions. If you've never used the product, in fact, it's just best to like Google the product beforehand, because you might go on a job site and see Shaw and think I've done plenty of Shaw LVT, but it's a PVC free, semi wet set, and you don't know it, you're going to have curling issues like you wouldn't believe. And then at the end of the day, they're just going to point back to you. You didn't follow the installation instructions. So that's a great reminder that starting with your install instructions and reading those, that's good for everybody. That's good for like the most advanced. A lot of times, the better you are, the less you read those instructions actually.
Yeah, you become complacent, right? You become, I've already done this a million times, but it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
What was that? Who were we talking to, Dan? They said usually when something changes, they change a label, right? Like a label changes, or the is like on the peel of adhesive. They might look the same, but maybe they rebranded and have a new
Well,
picture or new format.
that's one of the reasons. The easiest way, and what most companies do, is keep their installation instructions up to date online. And they do that because once they've sent product out, they can't recall this product to replace the pamphlet inside the install instructions. So your best bet, and I'd love if every manufacturer would put a QR code on
And
their
just
product
to the
for
updated
installation,
instructions, right?
and just keep that as your updated everyday install instructions, a QR code, and you just put install above it. Boom, QR code it on every box, every package, whatever it is. That would be so helpful, and it'd be easy to maintain. One of our jobs a long time ago, we ran into problems on actually, but it's a long time job. It's probably 2014 or 15 when we did it, so about a decade ago, and it had an underlayment, and there's obviously two sides to the sound barrier underlayment. So you glued that down. The instructions on the package said one side down, but the installation instructions online said that side's up, and it was the film up or film down. And the GC thought they had us because they were like, "Yeah, look, you installed it incorrectly. That's why we're having these issues." And I'm like, "No, we didn't. You have old stuff. We always check online because without they can't recall 200,000 rolls of this stuff just to change that piece of paper. They're going to keep their online install instructions up to date, and that's the most important thing to read." Well, I agree, but if they had with you, Jorge, to like post them right on the box, but if you had a QR code with a little video on how to do
Like,
it, yeah, with a QR code. All right, all right. Yeah, you can put it
All
both
right.
with a QR code. That's just a domain. they can go on to, it's a URL. You can read the install instructions, watch a short video that kind of helps you through it. To me, that would be wonderful, not only for a DIY product, but I'm talking all products
I
because
mean, just
the
think of how
adhesives
much
change
paper
so
they could
much.
save. They could save so much paper if they just put a QR code on there, said installation instructions, didn't have to include anything in the box anymore.
Yeah,
Because they only included every, what, 3 or 4 boxes. And then you figure if you have every box has something on there, you don't even need to worry about looking for it. It's boom, scan it and go.
yeah.
There are still
And
some
that
people out there
includes for
that don't
your
order their
adhesive
food
as
without
well.
pictures.
What's that?
I said there are still some people out there that don't order their food unless they have pictures.
Yeah, true. Carne asada tacos.
You
You don't
don't
need
need
the
a picture
pictures
for
of
that.
that.
That's my point. Yeah, so read the installation instructions and following them. And, this is maybe not basics, but one of the things I'm hoping to continue to drive home with our installers out in the field is take pictures of the process.
Mm.
Because the manufacturers, you know, no salt thrown on my manufacturers here, but they're they don't want a failure. They send out an inspector. Most of the time, a high percentage of the time, it's an installation error, or at least that's what they find initially. Not all the time that they do say it's an installation error out of the gate is it an actual installation error. So protect yourself, taking some pictures throughout the process. Clean floor, nicely, cleaned out saw joints, nice prep, glue,
And
installation
it's not even
process, and then
just the
finished product.
it's not just the manufacturers. It's sometimes, it's cheap insurance for the GCs as well. Because you have them and they're like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And it's like, yes, I did. And it's right here. Like, we already
Especially if
talked
you're
about
fighting
this.
them on site conditions, that's a big red flag to be taking pictures of what you're doing. If you're fighting them on site conditions and they're like, well, can't you just do it? Or they're pushing you to do it. And you're like, I mean, we have an ironclad warranty release. Uh, Mainly, it's like, not just, hey, that you're releasing warranty on, we can't cover the installation warranty. It is a document and it has to have the architect, the owner, and the GC sign it. And if only one signs, then they have another spot to sign to indemnify and hold as harmless should a lawsuit happen. So, for example, if the GC signs it, well, what happens if the owner sues you? Right? So you need to have them sign a indemnification. This is more advanced probably, but uh, have them sign an indemnification clause that holds you harmless and promise to defend you should your the floor have a problem, because it's easy for them to sign the document, a GC. So floor
It's
cloud,
called it's not floor cloud anymore.
climate,
Climate.
called climate now. Used to be a sponsor of ours. We hope they come back on sometime. Scott, give me a shout, my man. Um, but floor cloud rocks. I mean, that's just a really awesome new way to get that basic information we were talking about.
Still using them. Still using it.
All right.
So I was at a career fair 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Got one
And one
tomorrow.
of the guys from, what do they do? I don't know, something with CNC, right? So they're talking about micro measurements. And he came up to me and he was like, what do you guys do about people that don't know how to read a tape measure? He said,
Yeah.
how do you teach them how to read a tape measure? And I was like, man, that is so hard because I know people that have been doing this for 20 years, 25 years that still don't know how to read a tape measure.
Um, you know what? I'll tell you. I took a piece of styrofoam, like a 1 foot by 4 foot piece of styrofoam, and I just basically drew a tape measure on there. and I broke it so that way they visually can see it.
Look,
And
I'm
I,
gonna go grab the thing that I put on the door out here.
yeah, and then Daniel made something to put on the door as well. It's the reason they don't know how to read it is because for one, they haven't applied themselves to teach themselves. Two is people are still too proud to say it, but that is pretty basic, right? Like
Yeah, dude. I
I learned it
mean,
in
if you
school.
if you don't know, if you the other thing about, newer, it's something you have to teach now. You kind of
Yeah,
came out back in the day out of shop class or out of this, you know, Votech or something at school that you learned how to read a tape measure. I mean, I built a whole light. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Well,
and
that
that's pretty
I'm
basic. Like that's
actually
bare bones.
going to an elementary school tomorrow to do a career day. I think I should probably
I think
That's
you
a
take a
got a
good
couple of
idea,
those.
companion
Daniel.
right there.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty basic, but it's definitely something that I think has to be shown more today because people aren't coming out of, like I said, Votech or shop class or something where you use a tape measure, right? So a high school graduate may not understand it. And we didn't make our measuring systems like the best in America, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot
the
of things that are like
we
exclusive
made
to
we
our
made
country.
it. Have you guys ever seen that Nate Bargatze's comedy on SNL where he's talking about all the stuff that he's acting like George Washington. He's on a boat
Oh
and
yeah,
shit,
dude.
and
Yeah,
he's like,
the
yes,
food
and
thing. The
we'll have
food
our
thing.
own food and we'll call it a hamburger. And he's like, made of ham, sir. And he's like, if it was only that easy. And he's like, but don't worry, man. Hot dogs will not be made of dogs. What will they be made of, sir?
We don't
Nobody
know.
knows.
Yeah.
That one I watched that one like three or four times because
Oh,
yeah, it
dude,
was
it's
like
so
because it
funny.
was spot on and yeah, it
How
was pretty
many
hilarious.
liters are in a gallon, sir? He said, nobody knows.
Dude, that one was so popular they had to do it again basically right away.
Yeah, that was a good one. But
Yeah,
it does show that we had, like, our systems of measures over here, we're pretty much the only one in the world. There may be a
yeah,
few others, but we have our own measuring, and that can be a little bit confusing. I mean, you just can keep chopping it down. Yours goes down to a 16th, but you can get into 30 seconds and 64ths and probably not much past that in construction. It's not that precise. We're not building a CNC machine or building a tool for an airplane or something. It has to be micrometered. But
yeah.
the, you get down into those sizes and you got to start thinking, especially if it's a really like net cut situation. But that's probably serves 95% of all the stuff that we deal with. You know what I mean?
But that's why it's always
Broadloom guys don't even know how to read that thing. They just read to the nearest inch.
it's good to have the ones that have both on it.
Yeah, Ardex. So we talked a little bit about like the basics of that. I'm gonna just touch on a few basics from the professionalism standpoint. Like a lot of people get into construction, and I think that they have this roughneck thought about how to act on job sites. Come on,
Fits right
John.
into where you're going.
He's
But
right though.
if you have a this attitude like it's a roughneck kind of thing, and you have this bad attitude or like foul mouth, my advice to the young guys getting into construction, if you can have realize that you're there, love your job. If you don't love it, go do something else. I know that's um, probably not something we want to be saying in flooring because we need more guys, but at the same time, you want guys to represent your company well, but you also they each person needs to understand we're representing ourselves too, and we want to put the best foot forward, uh, because your reputation. My dad taught me, I was really proud of the Stewarts as I've grown up, still am, and just our history, but also, you know, that's your name. That's what you're stuck with the rest of your life, and you can't trade it out. You can't get rid of it. It's going to be your name, and so the reputation that's tied to that name is how you build your career. So that's a really long way of saying, like, that's one of the ways I get a lot of business now is because people know me as being a flooring expert, an actual expert, and guiding them along the path of picking the right floor for their project. I get involved in jobs way earlier. My career has changed from, went from an installer to being a subcontractor to, opening a flooring store, a dealership, a flooring dealer or a flooring contractor, as I call it here. And, now we employ installers as well as subcontractors. My job primarily as the president and a project manager, the one of the activities I do most right now is helping people pick the right flooring. And it's not like picking what's pretty, not from a designer standpoint, but
Hmm.
from a performance and what they're going to be happy with long term standpoint. And that's why I also have designers that pick out pretty product and say, hey, is this going to be good for here, for this location? This is the scenario. And so I love doing that kind of thing. It's one of my favorite things to do, honestly, in this business. And you get that by starting early with caring about your reputation, caring about your reputation, but also caring about your training and your knowledge. So
Well, I think that goes back to like integrity, right? Like when you're, how do I put it without like trying to throw people under the bus here? When you're not selling a product, rather you're creating solutions. It's a different outlook, and that's I put my name behind a lot of things as well as you do, right? And that's what we try to do is we try to protect everyone's investment, right?
yeah, we say
It,
selling an experience. I mean,
right,
effectively, there's plenty of guys that can sell the same stuff that's on these walls behind me. I mean, it's not like Pat Kraft or Shaw or any of these people, like, this is the only place that their books are. You know, we have to sell more than just that piece of floor. And that's
yeah.
an experience. That's taking them through getting the right product. That's having a great attitude. That's having installers that care about their job and enjoy what they do. And that whole experience that a client goes through when you are redoing their floors, especially on remodels, because we're very disruptive remodel, right? You can paint the walls by
Very.
just moving a little bit of this or that. You can't replace the floor without moving, you
No,
know. I guess you could
need the
do
floor to
like
do the
a
floor.
lift system for carpet tile, but if you're replacing floor, most of the time everybody's got to be out of there. The room's got to be clean. You got to move all the stuff out. Like furniture has to come out, refrigerators got to get unhooked at your house, stoves are moved. Like
Stove,
it
yep.
is just
Mm.
a very disruptive remodel. The better that you can make that experience for that person, the more likely they are to either recommend you to a friend or call you back when they're ready to do the next step.
And we get a lot of repeat business by creating those solutions and those experiences, and not all of the experiences start out good. Not all of them end good, but when you're transparent and you do operate under integrity, you do get the phone calls back because they trust you now. There's a level of trust that was created through that.
I
Yeah.
think when you go back to basics too, you gotta start off knowing that you don't know everything. Like you can be confident, but don't be cocky about it, right? And always call someone when I call the reps even when I know what I need to do, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know if anything's changed. Like Jared will be like, yeah, you already know. Like do this. I said that's what I was thinking. I just had to make sure. Yes.
Yeah, you already know. Why are you calling me? Well, first off, I just wanted
Well,
to talk to you for a minute.
that should go a long way for people to understand that no matter how good you are from the process or your hand skills, it's that adhesive and application situation that you're always not so sure of. You know what I mean? The adhesives are what always scare me because they change so often. Um, and they're number one. I went and looked at a job for a guy, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of square foot for this owner was done with thin spread under LVT.
Mm.
Bung a ton of apartment complexes. I just went and looked at it and I'm like, bro, they did not use a pressure sensitive adhesive. They used thin spread.
Isn't it the
And
same thing?
it's sticky when it dries, you know, it's different, right? And it is curling, it's got problems, and it's in multiple facilities in multiple locations across the United States. And, no, the tracers that are in the adhesive, uh, another beginner story, the tracers are important. And I'm glad manufacturers use them. It saved my butt a time or two. One time in particular, I was doing a like a dean's office at the college. Super nice carpet tile, Milliken. Back in the day, Milliken had a white. Their adhesive was white and it had glitter in it. And they had this really
I
expensive
remember that.
wallpaper. It was like a wall covering, like a fabric, and there was something on it, and it turned dark, and they said it was adhesive because it was sticky and that it was mine. And I was like, no, I didn't. First off, I didn't get glue 3 feet up the wall.
Oh
Secondly,
yeah.
I picked it off, and I was like, look at that, and had them spread it open and look at the chunks that were on the wall. And then I pulled back a piece of carpet towel and I'm like, look at that. That should have glitter if it's mine. That's also the same way because this tracer in this job that I was just looking at was red glitter. And I'm not going to mention the manufacturer or anybody, but um, at the end of the day, it's a massive problem. It may be on the radar of somebody watching this. Actually, it's a big enough problem. Hundreds
Yep.
and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of square foot of LVT that looks like it was, at least the projects I looked at, was installed with thin spread.
Man.
So
And that's one thing that people don't realize either is that when the inspectors are going to look at your projects, they are looking at all this stuff. Is it the right adhesive? What tracers are in it? Is it the right
mhm.
notch? I mean, I've been on inspections where
Oh
they're
yeah,
like,
the
do you
notch.
mind do you mind if I cut it open? I'm like, cut it open. Let's go through this. And the pictures that they can get are crazy just with the smartphone and the little magnifiers that they have for the
Yeah.
Hmm.
they
Yeah,
they
they'll get down there. They'll look at trial collapse, ridge
yep.
collapse for,
Yep.
in particular in vinyls. Did it get collapsed enough, indicating whether you rolled it in time or enough? All this stuff matters. That's this isn't back to basics, but I wish that every person that gets in flooring, if I was still installing, I'd go to an inspector class. I'd want to really go to a really good inspector class to
You
know
can
what
still
they
do
look
it.
for.
You can
Yeah, I
still do
know.
it.
I know I could, but I'm just saying,
Let's team up. Let's go.
I don't
We're on the
install
way.
every day. Very rare anymore. But I think that the more I think about it, the more I think it's important to try to get the guys to understand what they're looking for. Because if you understand how they look for it, and like you're not going to get away with nothing. That's the thing. Like you just said, Daniel. I mean, they're pulling magnifying glass thing that just goes right on their camera on their phone to
Yep.
look at not only tracers, ridge collapse for in vinyl anyway. Um, if if it's like a sheet vinyl flooring, if it's even a certain amount of ridge collapse in pressure sensitive, they want to see. Uh, Understanding that it's not going to collapse all the way, but they'll do a report and show it. this picture looks like, the Hubble telescope took it, and it's like no ridge collapse, indicates not proper
Uh,
rolling techniques were not applied or something like that. And then
right.
they say it so
Too
nice,
much
you're
open
like,
time.
yeah, the ridges got hard, all that kind of stuff. All right, well, we are up on 4 o'clock. This was a kind of a fun episode to go back and start thinking. I didn't do. Sometimes I prep for these podcasts. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I should know that topic pretty well. This one I didn't necessarily. I probably should have prepped a little more to think through this. But as we were going, and you're like, yeah, that right there, install instructions of product, reading your bucket on glue, like those types of things, those are definitely back to basics. And we should all do that anytime you're
Every,
installing a floor.
everybody has a system, right? Everybody's got a system, whether it's written down or it's the mental system. And I think that that's where the basics got to start out. You got to start with the process. Somebody's learning from ground zero. Somebody's learning from 5 years of experience. You got to know where they're starting and understand where their basics are at before you try to push them to pass their
Yeah,
limits.
but those things never go away. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
should always read the instructions, I think. Like I
Uh,
said, there's so many
should.
LVTs coming out now. I mean, I know you guys know about those PVC free LVTs that got to be wet set. You try to set that on a pressure sensitive, you're gonna have problems. We had a whole company wide huddle about it. I went to a fuse contract, scared the shit out of me. I came back and did a huddle. My whole company knew about it. So, System of a Down, good band.
It is too.
So before we take off here today, I do want to if you don't know a lot of reps or anything and you're curious, um All Tile, CCS, Blakely, Walcrow, Cartwright, whatever it's called near you, they are having their annual sales this week. So if you are near one of their locations, definitely stop by. I'm gonna share this so that way everyone can see it too. So they have live demos going on, started today. So at least you can see what's going on tomorrow, Thursday, and then Friday.
Okay, and
KCMO.
even if you have everything you think you need to go there, learn something, meet some new people, get some contacts. You never know. You need somebody's phone number, and you have a question that's going to help you out. A lot of these people there are more than willing to help out.
So on
Yeah, get out and get you
Thursday,
some free. Looks like you can win some free stuff too.
yeah, they got a fire pit or pizza oven.
CFI is doing
Ooh,
demo. That's cool.
So we will be over at in Grand Rapids on Thursday with CFI doing some demos of something.
spreading the word,
Sweet.
awareness.
So come say hi to us.
Yeah, go say hi and learn a little bit more about CFI too while you're there. All right, fellas. An hour has passed, believe it or not. To our audience, thank you guys for all the comments. Thank you for all the love you've given us over this last couple of years. We're going to be building some things up as usual. We're always trying to find a new way to deliver content to you guys. We've always gotten great comments about our style here, that we're not super like regimented. We're just three guys that know a lot about flooring that get up here and rap. And then we have some guests on every now and again. But we are coming out with a more regimented series called the Education Series. It'll be a webinar, so keep on the lookout for that. We're going to be doing some webinars. We're going to bring in some experts, everything from floor prep to moisture testing. We got some great sponsors coming on board to be announced in the very near future. So keep in touch with us. Let us know what comments or what topics and content you would like for us to cover, get experts on. any of that stuff. So big shout out to our fans and audience out there. We love you guys. We thank you so much. Make sure to give us a like, a subscribe. That always
Share us
helps.
to everyone you know.
Share us to
Yeah.
everyone you know. That helps with the old algorithms and keeps us relevant and keeps our sponsors happy. So we appreciate everybody. And until next week, peace out.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.